Hello and welcome to The Thing I Love Most show. My name is Noel Valbon and welcome everybody. Obviously the thing that we do love most is being a Yid and being Spurs fans. This week I am joined once again by Matt. Welcome Matt.
Thank you.
Nice to see you back from Barcelona. Did you have a good trip? We'll talk about that later. And Dean.
Hi.
Another Spurs fan, DSI, on the sofa. Welcome Dean.
Thank you very much.
We will introduce you shortly. But first we need to talk about the last few games, the last few days. So let's cast our mind back firstly to Saturday. We had Burnley, horrible day. It was just like torrential rain. But we managed to get the 3 points. It was one of those games that you could I was sitting next to people around me, they were like, oh, this is so rubbish, it's so boring. I was sort of still on a high from the Barca, to be honest. I was like, obviously we wanted us to win, but I could see that the players were tired. I could see they didn't have that and Burnley obviously came just to completely sit back and they were really playing for the draw. Their time wasting was just ridiculous. It was really getting on my tits. It was just like crazy. And then once we did get the goal, you saw the change in Joe Hart and he was running. That was actually probably the best part of the match for me. And yeah, it was really good. I thought it was a good performance. Eriksen and Son coming on, changing the game, giving us a bit more attacking third. Llorente also proving to be a bit of a handful, which was good to see, proving that he can come on and change a Premier League game. And also Davies at centre-back seemed to work quite well. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, you're right. It was like after the Barcelona game, it must have been so hard for the players, mustn't it, to kind of lift themselves for that. And we've seen it so many times, not just at White Hart Lane, at Wembley, like especially I guess at Wembley, you're getting teams like Burnley who are just playing for the draw, aren't they? They're happy to come away with a point.
I think they got it last season, didn't
they?
Yeah,
they equalised in like the 84th, 85th minute, didn't they? But that's what they come there for, don't they? They think, right, let's grind out a draw, and if we can nick a goal on the break, then fantastic. But at least we can come away with a point, and that was their aim. And for 90 minutes, it almost worked, didn't it? But yeah, relieved to see Eriksen put that away at the end. Really relieved.
Do you think that's a game that we maybe wouldn't have won? It was a classic game of maybe drawing or
definitely. I mean, we didn't win it last year, did we? They're one of those teams that they'll go to your place, sit back, pump balls into the box, play for set pieces. They're always going to be a danger at set pieces, free kicks, corners, all that kind of thing. Last year we weren't good enough. Last year we got a point. So the fact that we've managed to turn 1 point into 3 points this year shows improvement. Especially when you consider, as you say, there's no way that they could have been as up for the Burnley game as they were just after Barcelona, and we had bare bones. We had Skip making his debut. I mean, it looks like a great potential, but he wouldn't be there if everyone was fit.
I thought it was a good time to actually play him because it's all well and good putting people in on the cup, but it's just not the same as a Premier League debut, I think. And so I was impressed with him. I think he looks good. He looks strong. He's not afraid to get stuck in. He misplaced a few passes, but he was still. Then he sort of got forward a little bit and slotted a through. So I thought
he didn't look out of his step, did he?
No, he didn't. And that's got to be down to Poch. He knows how to do this. He's done it many times before. He's very much like sort of tells them the right things. Puts them in the right mindset to approach the game, and they're all very confident. That's what I would say about all our young players. They look, Foyth as well when he's come in. He looks like he's played the game strictly for like 45 years.
Well, I mean, for me, like a player, I know he's been in around the first team squad for a while now. But Winks is a great example for me of a player that's come through and has just come through confident from day one, really, hasn't he? And you look at him now. he's part of the squad now, first team squad, and he's. I don't know, put it down to Pochettino, the way you can just bring these young players in.
Definitely he needs to take some credit for it, 100%. Okay, so that's got the Burnley out of the way. So move on to last night, which was Wednesday, which was, we went to a place called the Empty Crates, as we call it. It's just Scumsville, basically. We went to Scumsville and we turned them over and we gave them what we should have given them a few weeks ago, really, unfortunately. I think the most frustrating thing for me was the fact that performance was what we should have had when we went there in the league. They were almost a similar team, but we just completely outplayed them. We dominated, and it was just incredible to see. Really enjoyed it.
I think with the league game, the one we lost, Arsenal seemed to be really up for that though. I don't know if you've thought the same. Like they kicked off, and I remember thinking for the first 20-25 minutes they're going to destroy us. And I know they ended up beating us quite comprehensively, but going in at half time on that one, I was like, how on earth are we 2-1 up?
Yeah, it did feel like that.
No, it did. But this one, you just they had their chances, didn't they? And I know Gazaniga pulled off a good save in the first half, but I know it's easy to say in hindsight because you never can relax and watch a North London derby and go, "Well, this is easy," can you? But as soon as it finished, the final, I sat back and I thought, "Oh, that was pretty simple."
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like a backs against the wall game, was it, or anything like? It was a comfortable, professional 2-0 win.
I think the difference was the pressure was definitely on a lot more for the league game. Before kick-off, you feel the pressure. With this, okay, we're looking for revenge, but at the same time we lose, it's still only the League Cup. They don't go from 5 points to 2 points behind us in the league. So it felt to me like that we was kind of playing without pressure a lot more. We're a lot more free, and the performance kind of reflected that for me.
There's that quote. I know Danny Rose came out and said a few things, didn't he, about the game? But I
just a few things.
Yeah, but I like it with him because he's one of these players. You hear like he's one of these players that never shuts up on the pitch. I don't know if you've heard other players say, he just from minute 1 to minute 90, you can't hear the end of him. And I think that's quite clear by the fact that he's quite open about talking about games, and he's obviously got himself in a bit of trouble in the past talking about Pochettino. But he was saying, wasn't he, that it was the way they celebrated, like they'd won the Premier League.
Yeah.
And the fact that some of these Arsenal players...
They always do.
Yeah, but I think for him, he was... But he was saying that some of these players have hardly played 10 games for Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I think he was trying to allude to the fact that look, especially him. I mean, Danny Rose, when he scored
he's
that
in
goal,
his 10th year now, isn't he?
but he's obviously that goal he scored in 10 years ago. If anyone knows the North London derby, it's him.
Yeah.
And I can understand. He's probably looking at it. I guess it's like, if you're in a job and you've been there for 10 years, and someone just starts and they act like they've been working there for years. You're like, hang on a second, just chill out a little bit. You don't know the North London derby like you think you do.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously riled him. And it sounds like that was a big kind of.
But they're stupid for doing it because it's happened before when they've done that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
They celebrated like victories and even sometimes draws, and it's just like, just relax. Like, what's
it goes to show just how far they have fallen as a club.
Absolutely.
In the last 10, 20 years. It really does. And I'm happy about that, personally.
I think the thing is, though, it's true. If you, we've come so far now to the point that whoever we beat, I mean, probably maybe if we beat Man City, I'll be like, wow, I can't believe, because how well they are now. But you really celebrate when you beat a club that's bigger than you, don't you? Because you don't expect it. And it felt like they didn't expect that win, and that they were, and that's why they were going.
They're definitely feeling fear. I mean, they're not going to tell you, obviously, because they're not. But they, and when you will ask a fan of theirs to actually name a joint team, there's no way that they can pick more than maybe one or two in that team, if they're being honest. Which obviously they're not.
They're not going to be.
Because
we've got a bias.
Absolutely. But I think it was, and I mean it came down to finishing at the end of the day. Obviously Mkhitaryan went through, probably a harder chance than Son's or Ali's, and obviously Gazaniga pulled off a decent save, but he's got to be scoring that. And then there was a couple of other chances. So I think. First thing we need to talk about is Ali's performance, because he's really, really come on in the past few months, and it's amazing to see. I've not been his biggest fan in terms of, I think he's almost like a wasted talent for me. I think he's got so much potential. He sort of fleets in and out of games. He doesn't necessarily get involved so much, but I think, as proven yesterday, when he does have those opportunities, he's world class. And I think also he's so good. His brain is so quick and good that he's almost better when he doesn't have that much time to think. He can literally just pull out a pass like that or just finish like he did. I think he's incredible. And he seems to be, like, I don't know, the Leicester game I think was when Kane was on the bench, he maybe sort of like grew in confidence a bit, but he seems to be now at the top of his game, which is amazing to see. And we're obviously seeing Son is benefiting from that as well. Obviously Kane didn't play that much yesterday, but I think Kane and Ali, obviously for the second goal, it was a lot of Kane's work. But how do you think Ali's performing this year?
I think he's definitely improved this season, because my one criticism of him last year was that he held onto the ball a bit too long. Quite often, he would take too many touches, try and be too cute with it, and it wouldn't always pan out, or allow the other team to kind of get back and defend, and it would just kind of hinder us a bit. But as he showed with that assist for Sonny, literally got the ball, looked up, put the pass through.
He had no time.
Exactly. He barely had. It was just straight away, bang. And maybe last year or the year before that, maybe he would have taken an extra touch. The chance would have gone. Sonny would have been offside. So the fact that he's now doing that, and he's consistently doing that now this season, he's really, really improved. Especially with
his stats are unbelievable.
for his age,
in terms of like goals and assists for his age, they're unheard of.
Yeah.
Like Lampard's goals, Gerrard, Beck, like all of the people that you would think would be up there, he's far better, far better. So it's incredible.
I was going to say, you were saying about the way he kind of flits in and out of games. I always remember, I mean, I wasn't at the game, but someone who was told me, I remember the Palace one a few years ago when he scored that unbelievable goal.
Yeah.
I said, God, I can't believe, like, he was useless. He said, and then suddenly he pulls out of the bag, and I think that kind of summed him up then, didn't it? It was, it assists, scoring goals, fantastic, but getting involved in midfield, that's where he's.
That was 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
That was 3 years ago.
You forget, I mean, what is he? He's only still 22. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is incredible. It is incredible. And he obviously benefited from an amazing pass from Kane, who I just find, like, I was just trying to think about it earlier on today. I don't think anyone especially anyone in our league, maybe it's something maybe Suarez would do. I'm just thinking about this, maybe Cavani, in terms of a player that can literally just control the ball, hold it up, and then turn, but not only just turn, but be able to ping an unbelievable curling ball into someone's feet for them to score. He did it against Spain for England, for Rashford. He obviously did it last night. He did it for Mora recently against Barcelona. He's done it for Son a few times against Liverpool last season, and obviously recently against Southampton. Just incredible. And I know he is maybe coming deeper, and sort of that's hindering him getting the amount of goals, the amount of shots on target. But if he's going to be putting players in like he was yesterday, I mean, that was an incredible goal, incredible goal. You're not going to get the Arsenal fans saying that, but you're not going to get many pundits. But that was world class.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like Dele Alli, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing he's always had, is that kind of cockiness, isn't it? But with that cockiness comes that confidence, and I can't see many players that would have that confidence just to flick it with his his right foot and just make it look so easy, But going back to Kane, you're right. He's always had that in his armoury, hasn't he? It's so much more to him than scoring goals. I know he scores them by the bucketful, but he can play the long pass really well. And like you say, the way he controlled it, and it was perfect into.
I think he works so hard.
He does
at improving, and I think that's what he says in the past. I think he's obviously always scored goals, but assists is one of the things where he obviously thinks he can improve on, and so he looks like
it allows him to come deeper, doesn't it? If he's got that in his arm, he can come deeper. It's brilliant.
Craig Belling made a good point at the debate the other day when he said that if Messi scored Ali's goal against Arsenal, we would all be creaming over it.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's a young British guy, Dele Alli, a lot of clubs, they don't really like him. He's obviously he's a player. But every team has a player that they someone
else
hates,
and
he's ours.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be given his just desserts for that, for being really improving and pushing on this season.
Finally, Davies at centre back. Second time in a week that he has played there.
He's done all right, isn't he?
He's done really, really well. I mean, I think he's been poor at left back, to be honest. I mean, he's frustrated because I don't think he's not very good in that attacking third. And I think the performances of Rose recently has showed that it's so great to have him back. And he seems like he's almost getting back to that old Rose that we missed from maybe 18 months, 2 years ago. But yeah, I mean, Davies is just giving us another option, which is great, because obviously Dyer's had his appendix out now, so he's going to be unavailable. Foy's just coming back from injury. Sanchez is still injured, so it's good to have him. Yeah,
and talking about centre backs as well, Toby's he's played the last few games, isn't he? And having him in the defence always just fills me with so much confidence.
Yeah.
As long as he's there, I don't mind who he's playing with. We just seem to be so much more solid defensively. But yeah, he's playing well, isn't it? Davies centre back, so yeah, long way continue. And it's good. It's good the fact we've got that kind of versatility with players. We've got players like we've got with Dyer, haven't we? We can play midfield and defence. So having that means that it helps when we are rotating the squad, like we're having to do with all these fixtures at the moment.
And Gazzaniga?
Yeah, do you know? I don't know if you
got almost 2 assists.
Yeah, they kind of.
He was involved in the goals. His kicking
was what caused the chance to become available in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a play out from the back. It was a very precise kick in both instances, and then another pass goal.
But that's polar opposite to when Lloris kicks it, you're like, it's probably going out of touch, or it's going to be a weird little annoying chip, which is going to go to their second line of defence, and it just gets headed back, and it's just like It's so frustrating, but it's just rare to have someone who can actually kick a ball. But then is that enough? Is he good enough at shot stopping? You know, I don't think anyone has seen enough of him to say that, because obviously Lloris is one of the best shot stoppers, but does his kicking, you know, then it's very difficult to balance it out, isn't it?
I mean, what is he, 26? I guess, I mean, look at what Pochettino's done, especially the last few games with Sissoko, you know, if he's given him enough time to work on him, and I mean, he's had him for a year, hasn't he? So he's obviously improved. I mean, before he came over to, before he played that, I think it was the Milton Keynes game he played, didn't he? But I was really dubious about whether he should play. And I was in the play form camp, and in hindsight now, absolutely, you know, Gazaniga's he's a much better keeper. But I looked up a lot of, you know, because he played on loan in Spain for a year, and he was, according to the reports, he was dreadful.
Really?
Absolutely dreadful. Yeah, he was like so error prone and made mistake after mistake, and I was like, you know, this is why is he playing? But you can look at what Poch has done with him. Or obviously not Poch, maybe himself, the goalkeeping coach there. He's fantastic. You know, he's like you say, his distribution. He was almost directly involved in both of them goals. They were both kickouts, weren't they? You know, and his shot stopping wasn't bad, was it? I mean, that save from Mkhitaryan in the first half. You know,
2 great saves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he didn't do anything wrong, I don't think.
Did Poch not manage Gazaniga when he was at Southampton?
Possibly.
I think he
did, and I think, and okay, if this was 4 years ago now, Gazaniga would have been 22.
So he's had him for a while.
So there's something. Poch obviously knows that this guy's got talent, or he wouldn't have brought him to Spurs at 25.
It was quite a strange one, because no one
saw that coming. Yeah. No one saw that, and everyone's like, "Who is this guy? He's never played for Southampton in the league." So Poch obviously knows. Yeah.
I mean, they got him from Gillingham, didn't they? He was at Gillingham before.
Yeah.
But he's actually, I don't know if you know as well, but he's from the same town. Pochettino and Gazaniga, they're both born in the same town. So I wonder whether there's a little bit of sentiment there, you know. And I'm not saying that he's there only because of sentiment, but you wonder whether he's kind of, that's why he's brought him along. He's saying, I'm going to work on you. And
I mean, maybe it's just contacts from the old country. Called him up, said this guy's worth a look.
Yeah.
That's more likely.
Yeah.
You don't just find Argentinians in Gillingham.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Do you guys know about why he's got his haircut like he has?
He lost the bet.
He lost a bet, didn't he, with Lamela? Yeah.
Oh, really?
It was on the the Champions League final of South America. So they basically had a bet on each one, and he lost.
Okay.
So Lamela actually shaved his head.
Yeah.
Oh right, I didn't know that. Amazing. And he was the first keeper to get a clean sheet away at Arsenal since
1998. Yeah, Espen Baardsen.
Do you remember? There was a guy wearing his shirt.
That's
Do you
right.
remember in the square in Barcelona?
That's right.
The Ian Walker, like, you know, the orange and blue, like
Jackson
multicolored belongs. Yeah. So if you're out there, it was a solid shirt, and I saw you on the flight on the way back. So fair play. Well done.
You've got your Arsenal back. You've got your Arsenal back. You've got your Arsenal back. You've got your Arsenal back.
Okay, so we've got quite a few draws to talk about today. Now, I'm not talking about the draws that we get in the league, because we haven't had one of those yet, but I'm talking about the draws in the cups that we're still involved in. So firstly, we're going to talk about the Champions League draw. Now, before we do that, you may see that Matt is sitting next to me, and he wasn't in Barcelona, which was strange, because we thought that he did go to Barcelona. And in fact, he was there for most of the night and most of the game, but unfortunately, you had to leave because you took advice off someone who supports a team that they shouldn't, and it was very, very sad. But thank you for coming back. How was your trip?
I enjoyed watching Spurs lose for 80 minutes.
Brilliant. Did you get home safe?
I did.
How was the coach to Toulouse?
Oh, mate, look,
Why the hell did you get a coach to Toulouse, you melon?
I could only get, I got offered a ticket, as you know, about 2 or 3 days before the game kicked off. And it's impossible to get a cheap flight at that late.
What were they, like, £200-300?
So I managed to find a flight to Barcelona for 250 quid direct from Luton in the morning, which was brilliant. Got me into Barcelona at midday, brilliant. But getting back, you were looking about paying £300-400 to get back. So I took some advice off one of my little boy's friend, one of his
which
dad.
team does he support?
Arsenal fan.
I mean,
and he said to me, I said, I've been to Barcelona with Arsenal. He said, what I'd do is I'll get a coach to Toulouse, and then from Toulouse get a flight home from there. So I looked it up, €4.99 flight from Toulouse back to Stansted.
I mean, that's cheap.
It is cheap, yeah. And the coach was only about sort of €20 as well. Now, this is where it went wrong for me, because I thought, right, the game kicks off at 8, finish at 9:45. So this coach left at 11:45. Give myself 2 hours to get to the coach station. Only about 7 o'clock, and I said to a couple of the people, "Are we making a move now?" And they're like, "It's 9 o'clock kick-off, isn't it? It's not. It's 8 o'clock in the UK." So in my wisdom, I thought, do you know what I'll do? I'll leave 10 minutes before the end of the game, because obviously if I leave at full time, I'm never going to be able to get a taxi to the coach
be honest,
station.
it was a nightmare getting out of there.
So I thought that. So I thought if I leave,
you probably did the right thing.
But unfortunately, I missed the.
Oh, you didn't. You didn't miss much. I can't remember
about
to
it.
be honest. I have no idea what happened.
It'll be forgotten about in a week.
I had a Spanish taxi driver tell me that we'd equalised. That's what makes
nice
me want
of
to
him.
cry.
That's okay. That's okay. You were there in spirit, which was the main thing. So obviously that meant that we did qualify after Inter failed to beat PSV, and thank you PSV for that, because after watching that game again, they did really, really well. So we need to owe them a few friendlies, I think. So we've got Dortmund. Obviously, it could have been harder. We could have got the likes of Paris Saint-Germain. We could have got Juve again with a bit of revenge. We've got Dortmund. We've obviously got previous with them. They seem to be playing better than they have been in recent seasons, though. Obviously, they've got Jadon Sancho, who's doing quite well. They seem to be scoring goals, and they seem to be a little bit better at the back as well. They did lose their first game at the weekend, which was good to see, because, slowly, then maybe that was just a bit of nerves, obviously, about drawing us.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you happy with that draw? Were you City again, they got Schalke. It's ridiculous. I mean, what are you confident over the 2 legs?
I just think, and I know we'll go on to the League Cup in a while with that draw, but you have to get drawn against these clubs. At some point, you're going to face them, aren't you? So it's nice to think, I want to get the easiest one, but at some point, you're going to have to beat one of these big clubs, aren't you? So you might as well just get them out of the way. And if I don't think Dortmund's a bad draw. I mean, like you say, they've improved. And obviously they're top of their league now, aren't they? By quite, even though they lost, still by quite a few points. Yeah. But I personally think that they probably fear us more than we fear them. Genuinely, I'm not talking about bias, but
you might be right.
I would agree with that, because remember, it's barely a year ago we had them in Champions League and we beat them home and away. I think it was 2-1 and 3-1.
That's right.
2-1, your favourite scoreline. And I was at the home game at Wembley, and it was a fairly straightforward win from what I remember. And they had this was before they sold Aubameyang to the Scum. So, and the fact that they're top of the league now, it doesn't really. It's
a different league as well. It's different quality league. I think that's something that we should obviously know, because Bayern by this time are normally about 15 points clear, and obviously they're not. But maybe that just shows that Bayern aren't the team they used to be, and obviously the other teams are maybe catching up. So it's hard to say. I mean, my opinion is it's the same as when we went to Barcelona, in the fact that I think we can score against any team. I think we have that any game. I'm confident of us scoring, and in that case, then that obviously gives you a chance, as long as your keeper has a good day, or you shore it up at the back. You have a defensive solid display. You've got a chance, and I would think that against any of the teams in the Champions League. So I really think that we've got no one to fear. I really do, and I think it's given the players a real boost. You could see obviously against Burnley we were tired, but I think yesterday against Arsenal, I think there's a confidence which has obviously come off the back of that, and that's great, and that will really help us, I think, in the next month, continue with this good run of form.
Of course. I mean, I know you did. We've done a show after the Barcelona game, so I know you've spoken about it.
Oh yeah, why weren't you there?
I was on a coach. But listen, you'll get a lot of people who go, oh, it was their second string team, and okay, they made changes. It wasn't their full strength squad, but they still had a number of players that will play every week in that Barcelona squad.
Oh, yeah.
Now we played them. We went to the Nou Camp. And we outpassed them. We did. It's a stat, isn't it? We outpassed them.
Yeah.
So to outpass Barcelona in the Nou Camp, it doesn't. If we can do that, who is there to fear?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who is there to fear in the Champions League?
Yeah, I agree. And you say that the B team, Coutinho and Dembele are worth nearly 400 million.
Course,
so that's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I was very, very pleased. So I think Dortmund, I think we're going to be confident. I'm still not sure if I'm going to go or not. I'm tempted. We are talking about it. I know you want to go.
I want to make up for the last one.
Don't tell me some weird way to go. I just
want to get a direct flight there, a direct flight home.
No, so we're going to get this camel from Frankfurt. We might go. So the next draw that we had was it the Tranmere draw, I suppose, because obviously the replay was only the other day. So Tranmere in the FA Cup, away on a Friday night, which means that quite a lot of people can't go. You're thinking about maybe going. I think you were saying they've just been promoted to League Two.
Yeah, I think they got promoted via playoffs.
Okay.
So they're in League Two now.
He's obviously going to rotate, but we don't see. I mean, obviously, Llorente and sort of like Skip are going to come in, but there's not much rotation defensively for us at the moment, is there? We've got no one really on the bench. Dyer's injured, Sanchez. Foyt came back yesterday on the bench. It's tough.
That game's not for another 3 weeks, so hopefully Sanchez might be back.
Yeah.
Trippier will be at full fitness.
Yeah.
And then that leaves Vertonghen and Dyer. I don't know when's Vertonghen due back.
Not the new year. I think it's the new year, is it?
That's vague. So it could probably not in time then in that case if it's just New Year. So, I mean, I just hope that we've got to get them back sooner rather than later because we don't have a lot of defensive cover.
I think the thing for me as well is I wouldn't fancy. I know Sanchez back. He's coming back, isn't he? Sanchez.
I hope so.
I wouldn't fancy Sanchez and Foyt as a centre back pairing. I think they're too young.
I agree.
One of them with Toby or one of them with Jan, fair enough. But the two of them, I don't think could play. I wouldn't feel comfortable with them two as two centre backs.
Especially not on a dodgy League Two pitch.
I mean, they don't get me wrong. It's not a criticism. They're both very good centre backs, but they're very young, the two of them. And I feel like when you've got Yang next to them, and even Ben Davies, even him, even though I'd be happy with him with one of them. Just with someone with a bit more. I know he's not obviously. He's still quite young himself, but it'd be good to see him all back. And unfortunately, I mean, Yang was only back for a couple of games, and now he's back injured again, isn't he? Which may be an indication of his age, But last season, he was such a rock for us, wasn't he?
He did extend his contract this week as well, which should be mentioned.
That's good news.
Which is really good.
Yes.
So thank you, Jan, for that.
Yeah.
Top man. And then finally we had the draw last night. Piers Morgan in the Spurs shirt, which was funny, and Crouchy.
Yeah.
So they didn't really do us any favours, I suppose. They didn't draw us with City, and City obviously after getting Schalke get Burton, so really tough week for them. And so we get Chelsea home and away. Going to be big games. They're going to be fun. They only gave us 4,000 away, which is a bit rubbish, I suppose. But I would have thought there's you get more with a cup game, don't you?
I think there's 15%. The 15% limit is for FA Cup, not League Cup.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the deal is for League Cup.
Right.
I don't know if it's the club gets to choose or if there's a minimum
Yeah,
amount.
I suppose it was just under 5,000 last night. So, maybe I suppose that's about right. But still annoying. But you've got to be confident for that game as well, home and away. After our performance at Wembley.
Yeah, of course. And the thing is, with the draw, it's like what I said about the Champions League. If we had got Burton, and I presume we would have beaten them, we'd have had to play Chelsea or Man City in the final.
Yeah.
So at some point, you've got to play these lot to win it. You can't. You're not going to. You get to. It's one thing getting to the final, but
to be honest, after recent history, I'd much rather have City in the final than Chelsea.
Yeah.
Given that we've come up against them in a lot of semis, a lot of finals in the last 10 years.
It's really annoyed me.
And they've kind of got a number since 2008. They've done us every time, at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do it this time and worry about City in February.
Yeah.
So we're literally getting London club. We've had West Ham, Watford, we've had Arsenal and now Chelsea, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then the finals in Wembley.
Against Burton. So, it's time for our stadium exclusive because we had Dean visiting the new stadium among, I think it's about 5,000 or 6,000 others.
Yes, that's correct.
On Sunday. So firstly, first impressions, what did you think? Were you impressed? Was it as expected?
It was way better than I could have possibly imagined. The absolute scale of it is up there with one of the biggest and best stadiums. Everything was really new. Everything worked. I was expecting teething problems. I think I was one of the first people in there because I was in the morning session, and everything was just seamless. The pitch, the stadium, everything was amazing, pristine. I just can't really. I'm kind of still getting over how good an experience it was. I was expecting there to be problems, but no, there's literally nothing I could say that was a negative experience. It was all, spot on.
So you were just within the south stand.
Yes.
So you were able to sort of walk around. So where would you sort of think is a good view? Was it nice? Because obviously now they're so close to the pitch.
Yeah.
All around the stadium. So, and did you go to the very, very top? Because I was speaking to someone, they said even at the top, it's basically almost where Club Wembley is in terms of then distance to the goal.
I went to the gods, right up to the back of the gods, took a few selfies, obviously. Standard. And I personally like sitting up in the gods. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. But the view was amazing. Even when you were sat like right underneath one of the big screens, view was perfect.
Yeah.
I don't think even if you're a bit of a short arse like me, you're going to have any kind of problems seeing the entirety of the pitch from anywhere. It was just, it went right down close to the front. You could literally like spit on the goalkeeper if you were that way inclined. If you were that kind of Arsenal fan, because you're literally that close.
Yeah.
It's almost the kind of closest at White Hart Lane.
Okay.
But obviously, building regulations stop you from doing that again.
And then obviously, quite an important factor is the bar.
It took me, I timed myself.
The prices are cheap.
For a brand new stadium.
£4 for a pint of Amstel.
Wow,
No,
cheap,
I got £5 for a cider.
Yeah.
£5 for one of those mini bottles of wine. $3.50 for the best hot sausage roll I have ever had in my life.
I mean that.
And to get that at a football stadium as well.
I know. I was expecting it to be usual, either absolutely burn your tongue for 10 minutes.
Coming from you, Dean.
I know.
You have had a lot of hot sausage in your time.
I've sampled many a football pie, mate. Let me tell you that.
Absolutely. And they also do pies as well.
Yes, they do. They do. That's the range of catering in the South Stand.
So what they've done apparently, because I was catching up with one of the club officials on the flight to Barca, is they basically they created a company. They created a company, or they bought shares, like predominant shares, like 80% of shares within a company, a catering company, because they didn't want to outsource, because then it was just going to mean that they'd have to pay or basically give high prices. So they basically now are doing everything in-house. So everything that they do is coming from the Levy burgers or whatever the company's called, basically. So
catering.
that's why it's
catering.
That's why it's cheap.
So that's why they've been able to keep costs down.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
impressive.
And obviously with the whole microbrewery thing, it's coming straight up. Did you get a pint from the?
I didn't see that until after. I
upside
completely
down
missed
one.
that.
Yeah.
But you can actually, in the South Stand, you can actually, if you walk to one way, you can actually see the actual brewery. It's just behind glass. You can actually see the vats and everything. Everything's there. They're not. I thought it would be hidden somewhere in a dungeon somewhere. You know what I mean? And they just pump the beer up. But no, you can actually see the actual brewery.
I mean, it's a feature, so why not?
Yeah.
They've obviously thought so much about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
incredible.
It's like when you go into older stadiums or even newer stadiums. I'll give you one example. When you go into the Scum, it's just grey. It's just concrete.
It's like that in West Ham.
It's
We went
characterless.
to West Ham this year. It was literally like it's not finished. It was just like a building site.
Yeah, just like a grey slab of concrete.
And it was like catering out of a flipping porta cabin.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the total opposite. This is like going into like a street market. You've got burgers here. You've got grill here. Different kinds of foods all over the place. Loads and loads of space. That was the key thing. I know there was only 3,000 people at one time, but I can imagine you just never having to queue. Like at Wembley, if you leave at half time, you cannot get a beer before second half kicks off. It is not possible.
No.
I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Well, it's 10,000 pints a second.
Wow.
So
that's insane.
I mean,
that'll do me for about a minute.
I mean, and it's all contactless. So that's the plan, basically. Obviously to keep it like that. So, did you hear any rumours? Did you try and tap up any officials? I think the problem is now is basically they still haven't had those test events. Until they have the test events, the proper test events, the proper safety tests, then they just still don't know.
See,
they're never going to say a date.
As you may know, I was a steward at White Hart Lane for 11 years. So you kind of get an insight into what is required. I mean, even at the old White Hart Lane, we had to have those kind of tests. They would do one stand every summer. But obviously this is a brand new stadium, so they have to do all of it. And there's a few more tests that are going to have to happen before they can get their safety certificate. Yeah. So you can't even discuss having a game before that safety certificate has been granted by the council. Is basically the long and the short of it.
So, but it's, I think also people were saying that maybe they were showing off the sort of the south and the west, but maybe the East and North aren't as complete, and there's still some building work going behind there. And
I don't know. I don't think that's true, and I'll tell you why. Because the South Stand was the last stand to be built. Because remember last season at White Hart Lane, the North Stand was still there, and the rest of it had all the kind of the major kind of concrete shell had been put in. But they destroyed that one corner of the North Stand, and that essentially meant that they could start building a bit of the South Stand. That South Stand was the last bit to go in place. So if that has suddenly become now the most finished part of the stadium, I don't know. Something about that just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, but they might have just changed their priorities in terms of...
They could have done.
Because it is the sort of like, the focal point and the thing that people wanting to see.
Yeah, because it's the cop style stand.
Yeah,
maybe it was just the first one that they got done. Maybe it's the one they put more effort into.
Yeah.
I obviously can't answer that, but it was still definitely a fantastic day out.
Oh man.
Do you know what I like as well? Because I'm going to be in the north when we eventually get in there. That's where my seat is.
Yeah, me too.
But what I like is that we can go to the south. And you can meet people there and then walk around the stadium. So it's not that kind of, that's your stand, you've got to enter in that side.
From what I understand, that's the whole point, because they're going to be doing like legends meetings. I walked right past Martin Chilvers. I was going to get a selfie, but I couldn't do it without Cam, so I had to go find Cam. By the time I found Cam, he'd gone. And so I think they're trying to do that for, the main reason I think is because of there's no additional capacity on the transport network yet.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to keep people in for as long
and get there
as
early
possible.
as well. I think that's why they're making this whole sort of like the food and the drinking thing so easy, is to basically get people in there like, an hour and a half, 2 hours before kick-off, and again after the game. And I think that makes sense, and that will help,
They're going to have a band, aren't they? I saw the thing, after every game there'll be a live band.
They had a DJ.
Yeah,
really?
so after the game, you're going to that area, won't you, where the south is?
Yeah.
And you just basically watch a band and have a beer. So I guess that's you're
and
pretty
there'll be Q&A with legends.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're really trying to make it an event to keep people
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, good. All right. Well, fingers crossed we eventually get
when we do.
Oh, dear. But that's good. I'm glad you had a good time.
It was the best pound I've ever spent.
Top man. And that's coming from Dean. That goes a long way.
I know.
Okay, right. So it's time to talk about predictions now. There's 2 games that we need to cover. So firstly, we're going to start with Everton. Everton are having a bit of a weird season. They're sort of like, they're playing okay. They're sort of just, they're good and they're bad, basically. It seems that they're basically just trying to sort of like sometimes hit a bit of form and then they struggle. So they didn't perform. I thought they performed okay in the Merseyside derby, apart from the whole sort of the one of the craziest finishes I've ever seen with the Pickford Origi goal. Are you confident going up there?
Well, we did the double over them last season, didn't we? And they're one of these teams, Everton, we just feel like at some point, surely they're going to click. They've got such a good squad, haven't they?
Well, they've had a lot of money spent on them. I wouldn't say they're a good squad.
Yeah, but probably, yeah. It's more to do with the fact they've spent so much money on the squad, But you look at some of their players, and they're a decent team. I feel like we could go there and win. And if you was to, I know we're asking predictions. I'd say I think we'll probably win the game 1 or 2-0. But I think it's going to be a tough one. I think it'll be a tough game. It's not by no means. It's Everton, one of them teams. They're kind of that kind of mid. I say middle, kind of upper kind of thing.
Yeah, they're like 9th to 6th.
Yeah. You see, I guess they don't really know where they are, do they? But it's a tough. And Everton are always going to be. I mean, they're a good. They've always been in the Premier League. They're a good team, a good squad. They're no mugs by all means. But yeah, I feel like with the way we're playing with the way we're playing and. We're in form at the moment. Like for the beginning of the season, I know we're doing really well in the league, but for the first few games, I felt like we were grinding out results. But I feel like more now that we've kind of hit form, and so I
fitness and confidence. That's all it is. At the beginning of the season, they just didn't have that they didn't have that feeling to be on form because they just couldn't physically do it. And then it comes obviously with familiarity. Eriksen, Son, and Kane and Ali all performing together. It's great to see. So we went up. Did we go last season? Yeah, we went to Everton.
I think I've been Everton away the last 3 years running.
I mean,
won't
that was
be going
ridiculous.
this year.
That was so easy, wasn't it?
I know.
It's not going to be that easy this season.
No. I mean, also last year it was September, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it was when Harry Kane scored his first goal of the season.
That's right. Yeah.
Back when he wasn't scoring in August. He hadn't had a ridiculous summer schedule, so. But that's all in the past now, and I think we've won. We've got a really good recent record against Everton, both home and away. So, I mean, remember we went at one point 20 years without beating Chelsea, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
I think maybe we're the kind of Chelsea to them.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll go there. I think we'll get a comfortable result because, as you say, they've spent a lot of money, but they're not.
They don't have a striker though. Richarlison is playing up there, and he's not a striker. So it's a weird sort of like.
Tosin is their main
Doesn't
striker,
really play.
but I don't.
Doesn't play anymore.
I don't
You're going
think he's that great.
Sigurdsson up top with him. So
Siggy's their best player. Siggy and Richarlison for sure.
So predictions then. Don't you say
2-0. I'll go 2-0.
2-0. Yeah. Okay. All right then. Some weird Morse code.
I feel like it's one of those ones where I hate predicting a Spurs win because I don't want to tempt fate, but I feel like it should be a comfortable victory.
Good. Glad to hear it.
I think I'm going to go a bit better. I'm going to go 3-1. I think we'll score 1 or 2 goals. They might get one back, and we'll probably score a late one just to make it sure. I reckon we'll comfortably win.
Okay. I mean, do you really even need to know my score?
No.
And there we go. So it's 2-1. Okay, so then we have Boxing Day. We're all going to the game, which should be fun. 3 o'clock kickoff. I think last season it was a midday kickoff. I was like, Jesus, how are they going to be doing that? 3 o'clock kickoff is doable, I think. We're going to go, which should be fun. They had a bit of they were unlucky last night against Chelsea, but I think we've got a decent record of them at home and away, actually. We're okay against them. They're, again, Bournemouth we're talking about, by the way. They are also, iffy team. I like them this season. Wilson's been a real handful. Very good for my fantasy league team, so thank you, Callum. And Fraser as well, actually, so thank you, Ryan. It's an interesting one, but once again, these are our next sort of 5 to 7 games are games apart from the Man U one, actually even including the Man U game, are ones that we should win.
Yeah, on
so
paper, you're right.
That's going to be the sort of that's where we need to. And obviously Liverpool have got a little bit of a tough run coming up. So now this is the time where we need to really sort of push on if we are looking to, get higher than the 3rd place that we're currently in.
I think with Bournemouth, I know you say we've got a decent record at their ground as well, but I always fancy more at our ground at home because of the fact their ground's so small, and they've got that. But at Wembley, I can't see it being anything but 3 points.
The thing I like about Bournemouth as well is when they come to your place, they don't do a Burnley. They don't just stick 10 men behind the ball. They actually try to play.
Yes.
So whereas I don't think it will be a frustrating game like Burnley was. I think it'll be a lot more open, a lot more entertaining. They'll try and actually win the game, and I think that will hopefully we'll just be able to pick them off because we're a superior team. So I'm going to be really bold. I'm going to say 3-0.
Wow, mama. Okay.
Yeah, I fancy 3-0 as well. I was going to say that as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go 3-1 because I'm not sure about the clean sheet, but I think it's going to be a good game, and I'm looking forward to it. Brilliant stuff. Okay, thank you so much for coming on, guys. Dean, it's been a pleasure to have you on. And Matt, as always, thanks for coming back on time from Barcelona, if a little bit delayed. So thank you for watching, everybody. Once again, this is the Thing I Love Most show. We are available on all social media channels. If you want to come and see us on YouTube, which is you may be watching us on YouTube, you may be listening to us on podcasts. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and the various sources. We are TTILM Show on Instagram, also on Twitter, with the Thing I Love Most show on Facebook, and we've had loads of support from all of you guys, and we really, really appreciate it. So thank you very much for watching. This is our last show before Christmas, so we do wish you all a very Merry Christmas, hopefully with some nice 3 points on Saturday, and enjoy the games if you're going, and come on you Spurs.